Hello, this is Michael Grant, NX CAM Applications Engineer with Applied CAX. Today I'll be presenting or demonstrating how to bring in step models and set them up for manufacturing. So this will include bringing in this particular step model has PMI or 3D dimensioning, as we do support that, and we'll be bringing in that into an inch template, so to convert it from metric, and then we'll be orienting the model normal to how it will sit in the machine. This isn't absolutely required, but it makes it a little easier when viewing the model. The top, front, and right views will be the same as if you were looking at it from the machine. We'll be creating a stock boundary, creating a block of stock material and prepping that, and then also optionally I'll show how to bring in a vise from the reuse library, so that when you either take this to manufacturing in NX, or if you're going to export it to another CAM system, it'll be completely set up and ready to go. This would be primarily focused on users with NX CAM or NX Foundation, which is a viewer that includes the ability to create assemblies, edit models, and do everything that we're doing here, and then some. You can actually even create some toolpaths. So I'm going to go ahead and start NX, and the first step we'll do is create a blank, basically a blank template or model in order to convert the metric step file into inch in this case. So I've selected File New, and then I have a menu here under the Model tab, and I'm going to select Blank. We're going to want to set the name of the imported model and then also the directory that it will reside in. So what I normally do in this case, just to get it set up, and again I apologize for any background noise. We use NX day in and day out, and I'm down here in our shop where we create machine parts for customers. So we are not just a reseller with support, but in addition we use the software, and so we're very familiar with all the steps needed and all the tips that'll help you manufacture and model better. Alright, so I'm in this new, I have my directory open where the step model resides. I'm going to first select the bar where the address bar is and copy that with Control C, paste that into the folder, and then I'm also going to select the step model, select F2, which will grab the name without the extension, and then again Control C to copy that, paste it into the name. So this will just set the name prior to opening the part. You can do this when you select save if you don't do it then, but that's the process I use. And so now we're going to import the model, and so we're going to go to File, Import, Step 214, which will support the PMI import. 3D dimensions from other systems are supported with the new Step 214. So I have most everything turned on here except for Flatten Assembly, and then I'm just going to select Browse because I'd already set my folder location. Alright, so now I've selected my model, and I'm just going to hit OK, OK again, and this will start the import process. And then if I do a Control F for fit, I can see the model is imported, and then under the part Navigator, which is on the resource toolbar here, third icon down, is what I'm on right now. So I'm going to expand the model views, and if I double click like the PMI views, these are the views that were created by the system that made the file, and they're imported through the step process. So you can see the different model geometry. Alright, so now we will create the block around the model. So if you have the NX custom environment, which I'll provide a link for this, this will include the ability to create an auto block around the part. So I'm going to go to application and manufacturing, select cam general and mill planar, and then now that I'm on the manufacturing toolbar, the home of the ribbon bar, under geometry, which is about in the center, I can pull down and do a bounding block. If I look at my status bar, which I've selected to be at the top, sometimes this will be at the bottom, it says select body, and then I just say OK, and it's created an auto block around my part. We can go ahead and apply some stock offset to that, whatever your standard is. I'm also going to select this block and then select Control J and set the translucency so that I can kind of see through it. So my plan for this part is to hold it on the bottom here, machine the top. I believe that'll be easier to hold in some kind of a soft jaw or fixture to finish this side of the part as a second operation. So for the top side, I'm going to go ahead and let me update my display here. So I just did a replace view. You can also get to this through, on some roles, you can get to this through your right click menu. I have it on my toolbar. So I did a replace view, and this just hides the PMI for now. So I'm going to go ahead and offset the stock. Under the synchronous modeling toolbar, I'm going to select offset region, select the top face, and I'll set this 30 thou. And then I'll set the side faces to maybe a 16th. And so that I have enough room to grab the part and maybe a vise. In this case, I'm going to offset the bottom maybe 300, a quarter inch, something like that. So now I've got my offsets. I'm going to go ahead and save the part. And so now to create the assembly where we can modify or move the location of the part relative to an assembly, this allows it. If you were to move the part inside of this part file, you're moving the actual body relative to the way it was designed. And so if you were to import a new revision, you would have to move again. By creating an assembly and moving the part around, we haven't moved the body relative to itself. So if there's a new revision, you can bring in a new revision and you won't have any relocating to do. Alright, so I'm going to go File New, and now I'm going to go to the Manufacturing tab and then just accept the default general setup. And what this does is append the file name with setup 1. If you had a setup 1 already and you want to machine the other side of the part, it would automatically recognize that and basically append the file with setup 2. So I selected OK, and now if I do a Control F, I have my part still relative to the absolute as it was in the model itself. So we will be moving this. First, what I'll do is show bringing in a vise. Actually, I'll wait on that process, and we'll bring that in after we locate the part. Alright, so I'm going to right click. I'm on the assembly navigator, again on the resource toolbar, the very top icon. I'm going to right click the part and say move. If this doesn't show up for you, go to your application toolbar. Let me back out here. Application, and make sure assemblies is turned on. You can also turn on PMI. So right click, move, and then I want to set this CSIS relative to a more meaningful location to move the part about. In this case, I would probably locate this on center. You could also locate off the corner. So once you're into this command for transforming, there's a icon here, or a command for move handles only, and this allows you to move that CSIS to a location that's easier to move the model about. So I'm going to say move handles, and now that the sphere in the center is located, or selected, it's looking for a point. And so what I'll do is go into the point dialog command, and then the drop down, I'm going to select between 2 points, and then select the midpoint of this line here and the midpoint of the next edge, and this will set it to the center. I know that once I have it in the machine, I'm going to want Z pointed up, X going across, and Y going to the back, so I can change that now just so it's reflecting the way that I want it to be when the process is done. So I'm going to select the Z cone and then select the top of the face of the stock. This moves it normal to that. And then for the X and Y, I'm going to select the rotate about, the ZC. So if I select this sphere here, I can enter a value, or I can drag it. I'm going to go ahead and enter 90 and then select enter. And so now this looks like what I will want the part to look like when I'm set up. Now we do have the stock value on the top, so we had set it to 30. We can go ahead and lower the Z by selecting the cone, enter minus 0.030 thou, and this will set it to the top face of the part. And I'm going to say OK, uncheck the radio dialog for the move handles only, and now we can move the part. So the origin, the absolute origin, is down here. These numbers that you're seeing are relative to that, so I can just enter 0, tab, 0, tab, 0, and now X, Y, Z all reflect a 0, 0, 0 location. And then I'm going to want to rotate the part to be normal to the view here. So I'm going to select the rotate about the YC and enter 90. And then since it went the other way, I'm just going to hit enter again. It'll keep rotating it about by 90. So now it's aligned with the Z. And then I'm going to do the same for the Y and X. So I've selected the rotate about ZC. I'm going to hit enter 90 and then select the enter key until it's aligned. And now I've moved the part relative to the way I want to set it up in the machine. If I hit the top view, I'm looking down at the part. So now I'm done with the move command. I'm going to say OK. So before bringing in a vise, we can do some measurements. These can be output as a JPEG if you want to send these down to the shop floor. So I'm going to go to the analysis ribbon bar and select measure distance. There's a lot of different choices in the drop down as how you want to measure. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on length, and we can pick edges. In the dialog, I've selected show dimension and associative. If you don't see these, then select the gear icon and make sure you're on the more. So I'm going to select the Y edge, and then also apply the X edge, apply, and then the Z, I might as well put it over here in this corner. And so we have X, Y, and Z size of the block. And then last, I might want to have the distance from the top of the part to the top of the stock. So I'm going to select projected distance. You can either utilize this vector icons, or you can select a face to set your vector. So I selected the top of the stock. And then again, I can select points or face. So I'm going to select the top of the stock as the start point, and then top of the part as the end point. I just right clicked for select other, and just to make sure that I'm selecting the right face. So we have the 30 thou, and I'm going to just say OK. So I have all my dimensions. At this point, I'll actually come back to show how to save out a JPEG. Alright, so now we'll bring in the vise. And so with NX Foundation, since you don't have modeling, to be able to access the reuse library, I would go to Application, and then on the very end of the toolbar or ribbon bar, there's More. If you drop this down, there's Gateway, and this is basically the viewer. Once you're in the viewer, you now have access to the reuse library. The CAM reuse library is again part of the NX custom environment, which I'll provide a link to. And this custom environment, basically it's a container for all your customizations for CAM. It can be either saved on a network or local, and basically stores your visualization settings, posts, everything that you would customize in CAM. But it also comes with some extra features that Siemens has built into it, and one of them being the CAM reuse library. So it allows, by using the custom environment, you're able to keep your base install untouched. You don't have to customize it at all, which is nice for updating. And then all the customizations, as I said, are stored in the custom environment. Alright, so I'm going to expand the CAM reuse library. Again, I'm on the resource bar. Fourth icon down is the reuse library. And then I'm just going to keep expanding the folders, work holding, and then select milling vise. You'll see a couple that I've added, but milling vise is one of the standard ones. If you have the lower toolbars, or basically folders expanded, you're going to want to expand the member select, and then this allows you to pick on the icon and drag it into your view and just drop it. And so you have the vise, and I want to display, went back to the part navigator to right click and display my measurements again. One of them I want to see is how wide the stock is, so that I can set my jaws to that width. So I'll set the depth of the jaw to 1/8 inch, and then the opening I'm going to go ahead and set to that value for X, so 6.0309. And so you'll see the jaws update. And then in this case, I don't want a stop. I'm going to center it. I believe you can just put none. Yes. Alright, and then the last part for this is I always set it to clone, and what this does is creates a clone of this in your local folder, your working folder. This works a lot better because you don't have to, you can leave your search options to folder only, which keeps it very simple. So I'm going to say OK. It's telling me it's going to put a vise in that working folder. And so now we can use assembly constraints to bring the vise to the part, just like you would set the part in a vise on your machine. So we can, as long as you have, again, your assemblies turned on your applications toolbar, you still have access to the assemblies ribbon bar, and you're going to want to select the assemblies constraints. The first one I'll do is center, and so it's 2 to 2. I'll select the two faces of the part. Just to make sure I don't move my part, I'm going to the part navigator, right clicking on the datum coordinate system and selecting show, and this just shows the absolute location. And so now I'm going to select the two faces on the vise in the same order. I'm picking the fixed jaw faces. So as you can see there, it moved the part instead of the vise. A couple ways you can prevent this is by fixing your part in space. Another is just to select the part that you want to move first. So I'm going to reset and then repeat these steps. I'm going to go to the center, pick the two faces on the vise first, make sure I'm on 2 to 2, and then the two faces on the stock, and you can see the vise moved to the part. Alright, and then the next we can use is touch. So you can either set, it doesn't really matter the order in this case, but I'll set the back face of the jaw to the back face of the stock, and then the bottom face of the jaw to the bottom face of the stock. So we have one issue here. I'm going to go to my assembly navigator and look at my constraints. Edit the first touch command, and I'm going to make sure it's set to touch. I'll just go ahead and delete that and create it. So I'm going to make sure that it's set to touch. And then I just use shift to unselect. So I'm going to do the back face of the jaw to the back face of the part, and then the bottom face of the jaw to the bottom stock, and there we go. So what happens if you have it selected to align and touch is it's looking to do more than just touch those surfaces, and it's doing some alignment constraints, and sometimes these can conflict. So I just set the orientation to touch to prevent the additional alignment happening. So now I'll just say OK. So we have our part set up in our vise. If you want to hide the constraints, you can select Control W, and then just minus will hide the constraints, and you can always bring them back. So we have our part set up in the vise, and last you want to check your machine coordinate system, where the MCS is for the machine, or the G54. So I'm going to go to the application toolbar, manufacturing, and then geometry view. I'm already on the operation navigator. I'm going to go to the geometry view, double click MCS, and then under details, and then expand that. And if you have a 1 set here, this is going to would output a G54. This again, if you're outputting to another CAM system and not passing it on to someone using NX manufacturing, then this part won't matter. So I'll say OK. Alright, so the last thing we might want to do is to, well, of course, save our part and then output some pictures for the shop floor. So the part navigator, and then we can select the first length measurement, hold shift, select the last length measurement, and then right click display dimensions, and then just basically move the part to the view you like, and then you'll do a file, export, JPEG. You can use a white background and say OK. Looks like I might not have selected the right folder, so I'm going to do that again. File, export, JPEG, browse. So I've selected my folder. I'll just go ahead and overwrite the last one I made. Say OK. Now if I open that, you see you have a nice picture with all the dimensions. If you wanted to export this as an assembly for or files for another CAM system, you can do File, Export, and maybe select Parasolid, or you could continue to use Step. Basically, select your bodies with a Windows select, say OK. And then you have your exported bodies. If you had, I wanted to show real quick, if you did have a revision, how this would update. Alright, so we're in our manufacturing setup file. It's an assembly. If we want to go back to the main file, the PL5992, we could select Window and then that file. If you wanted to bring in a new revision, you would basically go to File, Import, Step 214. These settings should be the same as last time. Browse to your folder, select the new revision, and say OK. And so we have, if we go to our part navigator, we now have two bodies, the initial body and the new body. So if you can basically name these by selecting F2. Maybe you want to call the first one Rev A and the second one Rev B. These can be, you can drag these to a different order in the tree if you like. You can set the two different revisions. What I would do is normally set them after the datum coordinate system. Start with the Rev A and then the Rev B. You could create a new block, or you could offset your faces like we did before. Just maybe increase your offsets in order to be able to capture the taller face here and then the longer arm or leg here on this part. So you have the ability to maybe hide your first revision and just show the last one, or like we're doing here, we're overlaying so that you could do something like look at them through wireframe view and see the differences. You also have the ability to slice under your view toolbar. You can slice your view and look at the differences of your part files. But if we go back to our manufacturing assembly, you'll see the location is still correct, although the stock does need to be increased. Alright, well that was what I wanted to show for today. I thank you for your time. Feel free to contact us with any questions. As you saw on the first slide, here's our information, appliedcax.com, and then there will be some contact info on there, and let us know if you have questions or if there's anything that we missed and you'd like to see in a future video. Thank you.